lot of people are talking about the end of COVID and what that means for restaurants, especially for full service casual dining restaurants like steakhouses, your local ethnic restaurant, or even large national chains like Red Lobster, Chili's, and the Cheesecake Factory. These are the restaurants that were most impacted by the COVID pandemic. Before COVID, full service restaurants might have had, say, maybe 10%, 15% of their sales in off premise, like takeout, delivery, and even catering. But during COVID, off premise sales went to about 60%, even 100% of sales, depending on where you were in the country and what kind of restrictions you faced. At the same time, on premise, dine in sales cratered to the center of the earth. So, what happens to this business model after COVID? What is the restaurant paradigm of the future? And how are you going to need to evolve your business in order to survive and thrive? Well, no one knows what the sales breakdown will be after COVID with 100% certainty. No one, especially me, has a crystal ball. It's possible that it'll return to the 90% dine-in, 10% off-premise split that we saw before COVID. But I'll bet a dinner out with my wife that this won't be the case. Prior to COVID, most people didn't even think to get takeout from full-service restaurants, maybe other than pizza or occasional Chinese food. Now, we've all become used to either picking up or getting delivery from our favorite full-service restaurant. That mental barrier to takeout has been broken down, and I don't see it ever being rebuilt. More likely, we're going to see dine-in return while also maintaining an additional 20, maybe even 30% of business from off-premise guests. This should be great news because it means more business overall. But it's only going to be great if your restaurant is set up correctly to take advantage of this added business. And so many right now just are not ready. The reason why a lot of restaurants have been able to meet the demands of their newfound off-premise business is because they sacrificed the dine-in experience. They took dine-in tables and converted them into takeout stations and have shifted their wait staff accordingly. This is a great adjustment for right now during COVID, but these restaurants will need to set up an apparatus that can also cater to their additional off-premise business once dine-in business comes back. That's why I believe when restaurants redefine themselves, they will be able to effectively balance both the on-premise and off-premise experience without sacrificing one for the other. The restaurants that can manage this balance properly are going to see a demand that we haven't seen in years, but they're going to have to meet those demands effectively. And they're going to run the risk of really destroying their brand if they don't manage this effectively. Okay, we had a recent experience that illustrates my point to the T. We went out to one of our favorite restaurants that we've been taking food out during the whole COVID pandemic. We decided to take the risk and go out to eat. We just really wanted that experience. And luckily, we live in a warm climate and had the opportunity to sit outside and, on the outdoor dining patio. So we get to the restaurant and it was just a cluster. We walk in and there are people waiting for tables. There are people waiting for takeout. No one knows who to go to, where to go. Everyone's all mixed together. Took us a while to kind of weave our way through and get to the host stand. And the hostess sat us outside in a great table. We were socially distanced. We were looking forward to a great experience with our family. Unfortunately, the experience really just sucked because it took almost an hour to get our chicken wings. And that's all we wanted were some really good chicken wings. And it took us an hour because this restaurant could not balance all the takeout business with even its 50% dine-in business. It was causing just a complete operational failure. And the number 2 factor for restaurant failure is customer confusion, according to the National Restaurant Association. When you walk into an environment, your brain is looking for clues and patterns to process whether this environment is safe or whether it's a threat. Any dissonance, no matter how seemingly benign, sends a signal to your brain saying, danger, danger, get the hell out. And I promise you that if your restaurant handles dine-in business or off-premise business, like the story I just told, you're going to drive your customers away, both your dine-in customers and your takeout customers. So, how do we balance off-premise and dine-in business to capture this new opportunity for more sales? First, we need to create defined and intuitive takeout, delivery, and curbside pickup processes with a workstation that's dedicated to the to-go experience. And that experience, that off-premise experience, needs to be separated from the dine-in experience, so we don't have the cluster that I experienced in the story I just told. Lastly, we need to look for new opportunities to engage the guest in this off-premise experience. Here's an example of new to-go station. There are a few things here I'd like to call your attention to. First, there's clear signage that tells you this is where to go for takeout. Second, there's an opportunity for grab and go merchandising, whether it's homemade sauces, homemade salad dressings, meal packs or meal kits, maybe not for dinner tonight, but dinner 2 or 3 nights from now. These are opportunities to engage your guest in add-on sales. There's also a dedicated door, both for to-go customers and for your staff to be able to properly service the curbside pickup opportunities that we see more and more, that people are really gravitating towards. There's also, in this case, we're showing takeout cubbies, where each individual order is separated into its own cubby. So it's really clear when a guest walks in, they can just go right up to the cubbies. If they paid in advance, they can take their food and leave. It's a very, very convenient, almost contactless experience. And lastly, there's the opportunity to staff this station properly. Again, we're talking about 30%, maybe even 40% of your business going forward. It needs to be staffed properly. And that staff person is going to need equipment. It's going to need a POS. It's going to need, other things to handle the to-go business properly. It can't be, well, the bartender will handle it or the hostess will handle it. No, it's got to be a dedicated staff person, especially at peak times. Then we have to figure out how to manage that labor in off-peak times. Managing off-premise dining is just one of the many factors that will be a requirement of the restaurant of the future. And we'll get into specifics of what exactly those are in later videos. This is the first of 6 episodes. And if your restaurant incorporates these 6 things, then it should be able to satisfy your customers' needs for convenience and social interaction. And when you think about it, those are the 2 main reasons anyone goes to a restaurant in the first place, other than maybe for great food. I, for one, can't wait to go out to dinner with friends and family again, and hope that we never take that for granted. That's all I have for now. To learn more about Restaurants Redefined and other topics, please follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, or at stardesignteam.com. Thanks again.